Now, the ongoing investigations into communications company Digital Vibe's dealings with government is deepening. A Daily Maverick report reveals that the communications company's contract was rigged to favour them. Their report also says the procurement process undertaken to award the NHI contract was deeply flawed, unlawful and invalid. The Daily Maverick's investigative unit, Scorpio, has so far also revealed that suspended Health Minister Willem Kiezer and his family financially benefited from the 150 million rand contract. Let's discuss this now with investigative journalist at the Daily Maverick, Pieter-Louis Myburgh. Peter, thank you so much for making time. You have done extensive work in exposing the irregular Digital Vibes contract and the involvement of those in power. Your latest investigation has uncovered the role of the health department's officials.
Good afternoon, Clem, and afternoon to your viewers. Look, I think we're kind of essentially working our way back through this contract. We initially were able to provide this information that pointed to illicit flows linked to the deal having accrued to or going to the minister's family and other individuals closely associated with him. We've now kind of gone back to 2019. It was late 2019 when the contract was actually being adjudicated upon and awarded to this rather obscure company called Digital Vibes, and it now seems that, at least based on what appears to be a pretty diligent investigation by the SIU, that the tender process, as we would have suspected, itself was highly irregular, if not completely rigged, in order to ensure that this company got the contract. We have to keep in mind that South Africa has a number of firms that have a pretty good footing in the communication space and that for many years have been able to deliver these kind of services, both for private sector and public sector clients. The fact that such a strange company, it doesn't have an office, it's got no client base, the fact that they walked away with a 150 million rand contract was suspicious from the get-go. It just now seems that the SIU is really firming up those suspicions with very real indications of what appears to be proper tender rigging and other fraudulent behavior from the department.
Yeah, talk to us about the role of the spokesperson of the department. I think it's the head of communication, Mr. Popo, and also Mr. Anben Pillay. What did your investigation find in terms of the role that they may have played?
Yeah, so Clement, so far, our work has very much focused on Minister Kiezer and those associates of his, Nadira Mita and Tahira Mathur, the Digital Vibes masterminds. But it now, unfortunately, does seem that Dr. Anban Pillay and Mr. Popo Maya are also implicated in this saga. The latest investigation certainly shows that they played a very curious role as members of the Tender Evaluation Committee, the TEC, which adjudicated upon this contract. The SIU, for instance, flagged some very odd behavior from their part. The five-person TEC, which included Dr. Pillay and Mr. Maya, they essentially were tasked to compare the two bids, one being from Digital Vibes and the other from a company called Brandswell. And they definitely made a couple of decisions that has the SIU wondering why it would have been awarded to Digital Vibes and not to their rival. One of the issues flagged or highlighted by the SIU is the fact that on the score sheet for the bid, the TEC for some reason gave very low marks to Brandswell, the company that lost out on the contract, in the experience department, while it's got a 15-year track record in this space, whereas Digital Vibes is the company that seems to have popped out of nowhere and has got no track record in the industry, and they got the full marks on that score count. So it really looks like there's a couple of very questionable decisions by the TEC that the SIU would like to put on the table.
What was the response of these officials when you contacted them? Because by all appearances, it looks like Digital Vibes has been irregularly favored in that bidding process.
Yeah. Look, so Dr. Pillay, without going into too much detail, has kind of broadly denied any wrongdoing. But in the same breath, he says he can't really go into too much detail. He doesn't want to play out or address this issue in the media, in his words. And Mr. Maya, similarly, has also strongly denied that he's been involved in any kind of tender shenanigans or any funny business behind the scenes. But, once again, that is kind of, apparently being contradicted by very real indications of some strange behavior by the TEC that the SIU has now flagged.
Yeah, and I'm going to be talking to the DA in the next hour. They want the president to release that SIU report. You've had the opportunity of at least looking at what kind of leads they have been looking at. How extensive is that report, particularly when it comes to the finding against the Health Minister, Zweli Mkhize? He's not likely to escape scot-free here, is he?
Look, I sincerely doubt that, Clement. Look, you would have seen on our latest report today, there is this WhatsApp message, for instance, that the SIU has uncovered where former Minister Mkhize essentially tried to exert pressure on the former Director General to have Tahira Martha appointed as a consultant to the department. That would have been preceding to the eventual decision to award the contract to Digital Vibes. So it really looks like, they are getting their ducks in a row in terms of proving that Minister Mkhize had a very real interest or involvement in getting Miss Martha into essentially, the pocket or into the accounts of the department to start benefiting from financially from that contract. The latest information that we've kind of assessed is from the ex parte filings at the special tribunal, that is for the SIU's ongoing efforts to kind of freeze bank accounts and recover some of this money. So we haven't really seen the results of the actual SIU investigation that is now sitting with President Ramaphosa, but I would expect that there are quite a few overlaps in terms of what would be highlighted in the SIU report and what has been submitted or filed at the special tribunal. And certainly, at this point, it does point to us having been correct, I suppose, in flagging this as a very suspicious and dodgy-looking tender.